And good morning, and thank you for being here today and for the answers that we received. Last week we heard an awful lot about the precautionary principle, and I have to say, when it comes to this, I believe the horse is bolted, in regard to the use of social media. Advertising, in my view, is no longer what influences political discourse. It's the posts and the use of social media that does that. Where we increasingly regulate paid advertising, what we will see is an increase in the non-paid activities and the activities that are encouraged by both platforms and by other platforms, because the more outrageous, the more eyeballs that we get on screen, the easier it is for you to make sellable advertising for micro-targeting outside of even the political arena. So we need to, there is a business model at the back of all of this. So in all the platitudes and the niceties about political discourse, behind that is actually a business model that drives as many eyeballs on screens as possible in order to sell advertising. So I feel in a way that this section of this bill is fiddling while Rome burns, to be quite honest. Nathaniel Pursley, writing from Stanford University, has written extensively on the idea of the dangers posed by social media and the things that are valued by the companies. Velocity being one, and that is the speed of communication and the tension that has with democracy, where we have a well-timed lie immediately in advance of an election can gain a national audience way before it has the opportunity to be rebutted. The second is the idea of virality, that idea of viral, things going viral, and the primacy of what goes viral is what is emotive and what is outrageous. And so consequently, democratic discourse is not well served where there is the chase for the outrageous, because the outrageous is less well regulated and in fact positively encouraged in some instances by suggesting for people to join other groups or join groups of similar interest. So you have that incentivized eyeballs on screen, and what we have overall is a coarsening of public discourse as a consequence. Anonymity. Last night, it's some years since I set up my Twitter account. Last night, so I had forgotten what was the process. Last night, for the crack of it and just to see how easy it was, I set up a Twitter account under a different name. All that was necessary was a mobile phone. In doing that, there is no accountability in place. There is no obligation for me to identify who I am. There is the opportunity to spread lies, spread misinformation, spread disinformation from within and without the jurisdiction, and consequently influence political discourse in advance of an election. So, Nathaniel goes on to speak about the monopoly held by platforms, the challenge to the circumstances where social media posts are made worldwide. We've seen that in social media being managed from other countries. So that is a problem for sovereignty, it is a problem of oversight, it is a problem of governance. So in light of those, I suppose Twitter says they're encouraging civic participation and dialogue. Facebook, are flag wavers for free speech, though I do admit, to be fair, Facebook are taking very positive steps. But there are cyber scientists that have shown maps of trolling and pylons and confirmed that there are instances where this is coordinated, it is orchestrated for political purposes, with a view to suppressing content, with a view to silencing people, with a view to influencing discourse. And both platforms promote that or sit by and allow that to happen. So I would, I suppose, ask, how do you expect us to regulate that? What are your comments to that and your response to that? Because the piece in this bill is absolutely not fit for purpose. It is too narrow and it doesn't protect our democracy.
I might come in there on that, particularly because it gives me an opportunity to say something around pseudonymity, which I didn't say in my first answer, and that is that, yes, you can have a pseudonymous account. You don't need to use a real name on Twitter for the reasons that I outlined in my first answer. But the second part of that is that regardless of the name or the handle of the account, the enforcement actions that we take against accounts is the same no matter what. So if you're abusing someone and harassing someone under a pseudonym, or if you're engaging in a spam operation where you're trying to develop momentum around a particular hashtag or topic such that it gains sort of inorganic primacy on the platform, we will enforce our rules in the same way against that pseudonymous activity as we would if the person was operating under their real name. So the enforcement outcome is the same no matter what. So I would add that. I hope that sort of clarifies our approach on this. With respect to information operations, you mentioned...
I'm sorry to cut across you, but that doesn't answer it. The fact is that there are anonymous parties with no accountability, no transparency of who they are, what their political leanings are, where they are, otherwise get to influence the discourse. Look at anything that's trending in Ireland on any evening, and if you follow in through it, there are accounts and promoting of particular hashtags that put out information that is false or is misrepresenting of even the how people are elected in Ireland and what is valued in people being elected, or misrepresents the PR system. And there are people behind that who don't put up their names and who promote misinformation and disinformation about Irish politicians.
And my response to that is that they will receive the same treatment with respect to enforcement of our rules as an account that uses its real name.
Except it's gone viral by the time you do that. The information is out and around the country by the time you do that. So it's too late to be rebutted. It's too late.
Well, I think one of the benefits, well, two things I'd say to that is that one of the benefits of Twitter being a public platform is that rebuttal can be done as publicly as the sharing of disinformation. Someone can quote tweet if they like a piece of disinformation that they believe to be disinformation and say, actually, this is entirely wrong. Here's a link to the correct source, be it the Electoral Commission or a news organization like Reuters or AP or something like that. And if that rebuttal is done by an account, for example, of a journalist who is verified and has 20,000 followers, it is going to have a larger impact on correcting the record than a pseudonymous account that is part perhaps of a low-scale coordination network that may only have 50, 100 followers, etc. So I think the nature
I've been handed a tweet here by a person, Aoife Moore, my colleague here, and it says, me watching social media companies talk about their content management and how they're so quick at removing posts, while I'm constantly told an anonymous troll account who routinely calls me a terrorist has not broken any rules. And that same experience has happened by journalists, by particularly female politicians, that you're not. You know, I've had things come back to me where you won't remove it, you won't take action because it doesn't correspond with your values. All the while, the misrepresentation of democracy in Ireland is going on your platform, and the coarsening of public discourse is being facilitated.
I'm sorry, I have to move on. We're very tight on time here now, and we're going to